Imagine you are sitting in the massive, cavernous Kia Forum out in Los Angeles.
Oh, yeah, just a huge venue.
Right. It is this star-studded Hollywood event, just wall-to-wall celebrities.
Everyone who's anyone is there.
Exactly. The cameras are rolling, they're beaming the footage live to millions of people, and suddenly the energy in the entire building just, well, completely shifts.
You can almost feel it in the room.
Right.
Yeah.
You can feel the collective breath catch in thousands of throats.
Mm.
Because two men who have publicly and honestly viciously despised each other for over 2 decades are suddenly brought face to face on live television.
It is honestly the ultimate public pressure cooker.
Oh, absolutely.
Because when you have that level of history, I mean, there is absolutely no script that can contain 20 years of genuine, deep-seated animosity.
The script at all.
Right. The stakes in a room like that are incredibly high because everyone watching knows that at any second, that carefully managed Hollywood facade could just shatter.
Which is exactly what we saw unfold on May 10th, 2026, at the live Netflix event, The Roast of Kevin Hart.
Such a wild night.
It really was. Now, to set the stage for this deep dive today, we are pulling from a highly detailed transcript provided by the YouTube channel Rap Time.
Yeah, they meticulously covered the event and all the crazy history leading up to it.
They really did. But, our mission today isn't just to recap celebrity gossip. We're going to unpack this decades-long war between comedy giants Kevin Hart and Katt Williams.
It's so much deeper than just a feud.
Right. We want to decode the complex layers of this live 2026 confrontation. And most importantly, figure out what this rivalry reveals about navigating that eternal tension you face in any career.
You mean the choice between raw authenticity and, massive commercialism?
Exactly. Do you stay unfiltered or do you play the corporate game?
It really is a phenomenal case study for that because, on the surface, you're looking at a feud about stolen jokes or casting choices and Hollywood politics.
Just standard industry stuff, seemingly.
Seemingly, yeah. But if you peel back those layers, it is a philosophical war. It's about what it actually takes to survive and thrive in a hyper-competitive industry.
And the brutal personal costs of the paths they each chose?
Absolutely. The professional and personal costs are just massive.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because to understand the absolute explosion that happened at that 2026 roast, we have to rewind.
Way back.
Yeah, we need to look at the blueprint versus the machine. Because long before there was any sort of public feud, there was a fundamental mechanical clash in how these two men viewed the business of comedy itself.
Right. If you go back to the early 2000s, well before 2014, Katt Williams was already this massive, undeniable force in the black comedy circuit.
Oh, legendary status.
Truly. We were talking about legendary specials like the Pimp Chronicles. He built his entire reputation on being the original, high-energy, just completely unfiltered comic.
And the fans loved him for it.
They did. He had a cult following that was fiercely loyal to him, specifically because he refused to play the Hollywood game.
Right. He was almost anti-Hollywood.
Exactly. He guarded his image meticulously. He was the guy who built power by saying no to roles that he felt were stereotyping or just, inauthentic.
And then on the flip side, you have Kevin Hart entering that exact same space.
Yeah.
And the comparisons, well, they started almost immediately.
Because they were so similar in style.
Right. They were both short in stature. They both utilized this incredibly explosive physical stage presence. But Kevin took the exact opposite path.
The complete opposite.
Yeah. Where Katt built credibility by declining offers, Kevin was the guy who enthusiastically said yes.
To everything.
Basically everything, yeah. Almost every mainstream comedic role that Katt turned down, Kevin took. And by saying yes, Kevin catapulted himself into mainstream, blockbuster, global fame.
Which naturally creates intense friction, right? Especially when you look at the economics of Hollywood.
So?
Well, when Katt says no to a role to preserve his underground credibility, he leaves a vacuum.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. Kevin stepping into that vacuum isn't just taking a job. He is actively absorbing the immense market share that Katt purposefully walked away from.
Wow, that's a great way to put it.
You have one artist fiercely guarding his integrity, right? While watching another artist achieve literal billionaire status by scaling a very similar energetic style through the corporate machine.
So the resentment was basically inevitable. And the first public crack in the ice happens in 2014. Katt is talking to TMZ Sports, of all places.
Out of nowhere.
Right. He's talking about Shaquille O'Neal, calls him a bum, and then drops this completely unprompted, highly specific line.
I remember this.
Yeah, he says, "Before I take the rest of your girls like you took Kevin Hart from me."
It's such a loaded, revealing statement. Took Kevin Hart from me.
What does that actually tell us, though?
It shows the mechanics of how Katt viewed their relationship. It reveals this deep-seated belief Katt held that Kevin's success wasn't entirely organic.
Right, like it was manufactured.
Exactly. He felt Kevin's entire persona, the self-deprecating height jokes, the manic, fast-paced energy. He felt all of that was a derivative product built on Katt's own hard work and original styling.
And that sentiment, it finally boils over by 2016.
Yeah.
Katt stops using coded language entirely.
He just goes for it.
Yeah, he's on tour in Atlanta, and he straight up labels Kevin Hart a Hollywood puppet.
Ouch.
Yeah, heavily implying that Kevin is controlled by studio executives who are just pulling the strings behind the scenes.
Which is the ultimate insult to a stand-up comedian.
Right. Now, I want to pitch an analogy to you and to the listener as well. Think of Katt as the brilliant open-source programmer who built this revolutionary original code.
Okay, I like this.
But he absolutely refused to monetize it or sell out. And Kevin is the slick CEO who comes along, packages that exact same code into a user-friendly interface, sells it to the masses, and becomes a billionaire.
That is exactly the dynamic.
But I have to push back on Katt's narrative here. In the real world, does Katt have a legitimate grievance about his blueprint being stolen? Or is execution, polishing the product and actually playing the corporate game what really matters?
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, mechanically speaking, execution absolutely matters more.
Right, ideas are everywhere.
Exactly. Ideas and aesthetics are cheap in Hollywood. The industry rewards the adapter. It rewards the person who can scale the product to a global audience.
And Kevin masterfully understood scale.
He really did.
Yeah.
But psychologically, Katt's grievance is profoundly real to him because he is watching an empire being built using the very tools he feels he forged.
Which has to be maddening.
Totally. And we see Kevin's understanding of scale in how he responds. When Katt called him a puppet, Kevin didn't yell back into a microphone.
No, he didn't even say a word.
Right. He posted a single photo on Instagram, just him, Dave Chappelle, and Chris Rock at the Oscars.
With a caption about true professionals sticking together while insecure ones look on. I mean, he didn't even use Katt's name.
Exactly. It was a masterclass in silent visual warfare.
So calculating.
Very. By doing that, Kevin visually and publicly positioned himself as part of the untouchable comedy elite. He framed Katt as the bitter outsider, basically pressing his nose against the glass.
He used the sheer weight of his network to make Katt look small.
Precisely.
Which completely explains why Katt had to change his tactics. By 2018, silent warfare and subtle Instagram jabs just weren't working.
They weren't moving the needle at all.
No. Katt's own career was stalling with various legal issues, while Kevin's empire was practically printing money.
Kevin was everywhere.
Right. So Katt realized that if he wanted validation, or even just a direct confrontation, he couldn't just throw insults at the castle wall.
It wasn't enough.
Right, he had to draw blood. He couldn't get the king to respond. He decided to attack the king's court.
And that strategic pivot leads us directly into the proxy war.
Yeah. In September 2018, Katt goes on V103's Frank and One, a radio show, and he completely unloads on comedian Tiffany Haddish.
This was rough to watch.
It was. At the time, Haddish is Kevin Hart's prominent co-star. They had just done Girls Trip. They were actively promoting Night School.
Kevin was her biggest champion.
Exactly. He had been championing her everywhere as his protege. And Katt publicly questions her core talent.
He didn't hold back.
No.
Yeah.
He says she hasn't proven she could do a solid hour of stand-up comedy, and he outright claims her meteoric success is solely because she's attracted to white men in power.
Which is a massive accusation. And attacking Haddish was a highly calculated move to force Kevin's hand.
How so?
Well, Kevin has cultivated this brand of being the fiercely loyal, protective mentor.
Right, the guy who brings his friends up with him.
Exactly. He can comfortably ignore insults directed at his own comedic style, but the mechanics of his brand dictate that he absolutely cannot look weak or silent while his co-star and friend is being publicly dismantled.
Ah, I see. So Kevin goes on The Breakfast Club, which is a massive syndicated morning radio show.
Huge audience.
Huge. And he delivers a total wrecking ball of a response. He looks right at the camera and addresses Katt directly, saying, "You had the shot. You were the guy. You did not show up to work."
Just brutal honesty.
But then Kevin stops defending Haddish and goes straight for the jugular. He attributes Katt's stalled career entirely to substance abuse.
That was the turning point.
Yeah, on national radio, Kevin says, "You chose drugs. Take responsibility for what you chose." But, I have to ask, wasn't heart punching down here?
It certainly felt like it to a lot of people.
I mean, I understand defending your co-star and your brand. But he went from being the protective mentor to literally trying to destroy a man's character and weaponizing his private demons.
Right.
At what point does defending your empire cross a line into outright cruelty?
This raises an important question about the unspoken rules of engagement in a public feud.
Because there usually are boundaries, right?
Exactly. By bringing alleged drug use into a professional dispute, Kevin crossed a massive, universally understood line.
He went nuclear.
He really did. He escalated this from a disagreement over comedy styles and movie roles to a deeply personal blood feud.
There's no coming back from that.
No, once you attack a man's private struggles on a platform that large, you ensure that neither party will ever be able to walk it back gracefully.
And even Kevin realized he went too far. Years later, in 2024, on Charlemagne's podcast, he admitted his regret. He actually said, "I should have never addressed him at all."
Hindsight is 20/20.
Truly.
Yeah.
He realized that by engaging, he gave Katt exactly what he wanted, which was a direct, messy fight.
Right.
But the damage of that 2018 interview was permanent. That drugs comment drove the feud underground for 6 years.
It went totally quiet.
Yeah, Katt stopped trying to bait Kevin into daily screaming matches. Instead, he just went into the lab.
Which brings us to a total shift in the landscape of media.
Here's where it gets really interesting. In January 2024, Katt Williams doesn't just give an interview.
No, he drops a bomb.
He releases what I would call an unauthorized audit of Kevin Hart's entire career. He sits down with Shannon Sharpe on the Club Shay Shay podcast for nearly 3 hours.
3 straight hours of just unloading.
And this doesn't just go viral. It hits 86 million views. It becomes a genuine cultural phenomenon. It was being quoted in barbershops, at family dinners, and dominating social media algorithms for weeks.
We really have to look at the mechanism of why this was so effective.
Why did it work so well?
Because Katt bypassed traditional PR filters entirely.
Oh, right. No publicists.
Exactly. A 3-minute TMZ clip can be spun or ignored by Hollywood PR teams, but a 3-hour, unedited, long-form podcast creates a deep parasocial bond with the viewer.
You're just sitting in the room with them.
Right. Katt used that uninterrupted time to lay out a comprehensive thesis. He methodically claimed that for a 5-year period, every major blockbuster movie Kevin Hart did was a movie Katt had originally been offered.
And he passed on them.
Passed on them because he refused to compromise his values.
And then Katt drops the absolute nuke.
Yeah.
The industry plant accusation.
Oh, man.
Yeah, he looks at Shannon Sharpe and says, no one remembers Kevin Hart grinding it out. No one remembers lines around the block for him at comedy clubs.
Basically rewriting history.
But suddenly, he moves to L.A., and in his first year, he has a network sitcom and the lead in Soul Plane.
To fully grasp the weight of that, you have to understand the open mic myth.
Tell me about that.
Well, stand-up comedy fiercely protects its image as the last true meritocracy in entertainment.
Right. You either get laughs or you don't.
Exactly. The mythology is that you pay your dues in empty, hostile rooms, and the audience, and only the audience, decides if you succeed.
So Katt was attacking his foundation.
Completely. By calling Kevin an industry plant, Katt wasn't just insulting his movies. He was alleging that Kevin's fundamental relationship with the audience was a manufactured lie.
Wow.
It is the ultimate invalidation of a comedian's life's work.
And Katt fully admitted at the Vulture Festival later that this entire interview was engineered. He literally said, I wrote it out to kill the careers of the people that I was talking about.
So cold-blooded.
He claimed he mathematically calculated how to use the podcast algorithm to dismantle Kevin's origin story.
But look at how Kevin handles it.
Right, his response.
Katt throws this highly engineered, deeply personal grenade aimed at Kevin's core legitimacy, and Kevin, he treats it like a promotional flyer.
It's insane. Kevin hops on X, gives this cool 7-word dismissal. He tweets, you don't entertain the circus, you watch it.
Ice cold.
And in the exact same breath, he drops the trailer for his new Netflix movie, Lift. He even tells the Wall Street Journal later he's cheering for him from afar.
What's fascinating here is the stark contrast in their survival strategies.
How do you mean?
Well, you have Katt playing the role of the explosive, fearless truth teller, right? He's willing to burn down his own standing just to expose the machine.
And Kevin is playing a totally different game.
Exactly. You have Kevin, the ultimate calculated empire builder who weaponizes silence and, honestly, toxic positivity.
Yes, toxic positivity is the perfect term for it.
By refusing to get into the mud, Kevin's strategy is designed to make Katt look unhinged, bitter, and completely obsessed.
But, to take that a step further, Kevin's armor was actually cracking.
Oh, for sure.
He played it incredibly cool online. But right after that podcast dominated the culture, Kevin suddenly shuttered all his Hart House restaurants without a clear explanation.
Just close him down.
Yeah. He abruptly halted his international comedy tours. The public tide was shifting.
People were buying into Katt's story.
Exactly. People were starting to deeply resonate with Katt's narrative of the authentic underdog fighting the manufactured corporate plant. Kevin's bank accounts were fine, but his standing in the court of public opinion was taking heavy, sustained damage.
All of which builds the pressure for the most surreal, high-stakes climax imaginable.
And that brings us back to the Kia Forum. May 10th, 2026, live on Netflix, The Roast of Kevin Hart.
The tension was unreal.
The lineup is packed with A-listers. Everyone expects a standard, heavily rehearsed Hollywood roast where celebrities trade safe barbs.
Just a typical industry pat on the back.
Right. But then, actress Regina Hall steps up to the podium, and she brings out the ultimate wild card.
Out walks Katt Williams, wearing a black hat and a long black leather cape.
Unbelievable.
The ultimate Hollywood outsider, surprisingly invited deep into the empire builder's own castle.
And the moment he touches the microphone, he sets the tone. He looks around the arena and says, that's how little star power you have? They had to start inviting your enemies.
Brilliant opening line.
He gets his 8 minutes at the podium, and he does not hold back.
He systematically subverts the entire premise of the night.
Right. The whole GOAT thing.
Exactly. The roast was framed around Kevin being the GOAT, the greatest of all time. Katt flips it, telling Kevin he's going to use his Emmy-winning acting skills to pretend Kevin is literally a farm animal, a goat.
He just dismantles the compliment.
He doubles down on the industry plant accusation, too. He addresses that 2016 puppet comment, joking that he only meant the head of Netflix literally has his hand up Kevin's rear end, controlling his every move.
And we should note, just reporting from the source material here, he even drops a highly uncomfortable Biddy Party reference.
Yeah, exploiting the immense tension in the room. He wasn't playing by any of the standard network rules.
No, he wasn't. And then he methodically lists the movies right to Kevin's face. Scary Movie 3, Night School, Get Hard.
Just reading off the resume.
Yeah. Katt proudly declares to the millions watching that he turned those massive paychecks down. because he refused to play stereotypes. He refused to, in his exact words, be a coon.
This raw.
He unleashes 8 minutes of pure, unauthorized auditing right there on Kevin's stage. And Kevin just sits there. He takes every hit.
He had to.
But then comes a moment that makes the whole room gasp. Kevin Hart stands up. He's got a microphone. He looks visibly, genuinely moved.
It was a shocking shift in tone.
He looks directly at Katt and says, "I'm a fan first. The beef is over." He offers this profound olive branch on live television. And then they hug on stage.
It is a staggering image, truly.
I want you, the listener, to really pause and picture the mechanics of this moment. 20 years of absolute poison, of proxy wars, of career sabotage, and deeply personal attacks, seemingly dissolving into a single, vulnerable embrace in front of millions of people.
You could literally feel the collective relief in the arena.
Oh, totally.
Because for a brief second, the audience believed they were witnessing genuine human healing, superseding the Hollywood machine.
But the night wasn't over, because Kevin still had his closing set to deliver.